On the free flow series of debunking that America has a democracy and proving that America in fact has an autocracy, and also debunking the so-called American electoral system. This is a response to the first videos of Prager University on this subject. A link to the video is added to the description below. Due to copyright issues and copyrights, I will not be putting anything from the video itself, but I will respond to any point made in the video and debunk it. For further information, watch the video and look it up yourself and see for yourself about the cheap argumentation made in these videos by Prager University. I will also add a description to what a democracy is and what an autocracy is. So let us move on to the main subject and also to address the points made in the Prager University video and debunk them. The first question or the first claim that the Prager University makes in this video is, quote, "Why didn't the founders just make it easy and let the presidential candidate with the most votes claim victory?" Well, before we go into details, Prager University leaves a very, very vital fact of American history completely out. Here's a very vital fact of American history that is completely ignored here. The founding fathers made this system because back then, literally a huge part of the American population was illiterate. A huge part of the American population did not know how to read and write. Hence, they did not want to, have uneducated people vote or make decisions. Although in the end this would have been the most moral thing to do, it is understandable why the founding fathers would go for such a system. However, the problem is, in the modern day and age, literacy rates of America are literally about 100%. I mean, we don't have illiterate people in America anymore. Hence, the need for this electoral college is obsolete. We do not need this electoral college anymore at all. As said, the need for it is obsolete, and you don't need it anymore in a country that already has about a 100% literacy rate. Anyway, let's move on here. Now it goes on to say that the founding fathers had literally no intention of making it a pure democracy, which I personally doubt, but okay, let that argumentation stand for a moment. Then it goes on to say that they knew from careful study of history what a real democracy or a pure democracy would result in, which is kind of funny given the fact that this was like 1700 and democracy itself was a pretty much new system, and it was pretty much newly implemented in a lot of European countries that before that have in fact been ruled by a monarchy. So basically the whole concept of a democracy was pretty much totally new, and it was newly implemented in a lot of European countries. So how you can claim careful study here when, or careful study of history when history and democracy was literally new and was literally newly born is pretty much big bullshit. I mean, you cannot claim to have studied something or know something in detail that is literally just started to exist and literally just started to be implemented. But this is exactly what Prager University does here. It claims the forefathers have known all this and done all this and studied it all, although democracy was pretty much newly implemented. And extensive studies at that point simply did not exist. So how you can make this claim is totally beyond me. And it's definitely totally false. Next claim. Next claim, they say pure democracies do not work. I'm sorry, but I really have to laugh big time at this one. I mean, look at Europe. Are you saying that Europe doesn't work because of pure democracy? This is utter bullshit. A lot of countries in Europe have pure democracy, like Germany, for example, Sweden, Iceland, Finland, Norway, etc. And they are amongst the most successful of all countries. They are in many ways more developed than America. They are in many ways ahead of America. Be it civil rights, be it living standards, be it education, be it a lot of things. Be it lower wealth gaps, etc., etc., etc. I mean, I'm sorry, this is total bullshit. Not to mention the fact that the speaker in this video of Prager University totally ignores the fact that America is not even a democracy. It is by definition what you call an autocracy. A democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people or vote, and kratia, meaning power or parliament. Meaning a parliament that holds power based on the votes of the people. And this means exactly by popular vote and nothing else. So this entire claim she makes is again bullshit. Also to the next claim. Then she goes on to say, quote, in pure democratic countries, bare majorities can easily tyrannize the rest of a country. Well, first of all, that is utter bullshit, because since things are ran and managed democratically, this is not tyranny. However, if you go by that definition that she herself or the Prager University themselves use, then basically what they are advocating for is a tyranny by the few. So basically you have the choice between a tyranny of the majority and a tyranny of the few, which is also known as a dictatorship. And personally, if I am put before the choice of having a tyranny of majority or a tyranny of the few, I rather prefer the tyranny of majority over the tyranny of a few. Next claim she makes is that because of that, they have three branches of government, which are executives, legislatives, and judicial. Well, guess what? Here in Europe, here in Germany, for example, we have the same. But we still have a democracy. We still do not have an electoral college that decides for the people. Instead, we rather have the people themselves decide. Instead of having, as said, a college that decides over your head, which is nothing else than a blatant dictatorship. Also known as autocracy, since autocracy is a form of dictatorship. Then she goes on to say that you need a supermajority and a 3/4 majority, Congress majority to change the constitution. Guess what? We have exactly the same here in Germany. To change the constitution here in Germany, which is possible, you need a 3/4 majority. Only then can you change the constitution. This is also in our constitution, which is known as Grundgesetzbuch, or in short, GG. Yeah, I know, GG. It comes from Grund and Gesetzbuch, which is 2 times G. Not to mention that tyranny by majority, as Prager University calls it, cannot just easily tyrannize the masses, nor can they just easily change the constitution just like that, nor can they just easily force a tyranny over the people. Actually, in fact, that is exactly what the Electoral College does. That is exactly what this autocracy does. It literally forces tyranny over their people. I mean, do you want some examples? See the Patriotic Act. See the Freedom of Information Act. I mean, what is this? This is exactly this kind of tyranny that Prager University says that they are preventing, that is exactly exerted over the American people here. Then she goes on to say that the Electoral College increases coalition building and national campaigning. Well, national campaigning you have basically in a pure democracy as well as in this autocracy, which is, by the way, as we discussed, fake democracy, but okay. But you have national campaigning here as well, so that's not an issue. And coalition building, I'm sorry, but this is so far the most stupid and most blatant lie of all. In fact, America has no coalitions at all. What coalitions does America have? None. Compared to European countries and real democracies in Europe, where you have coalitions en masse. I mean, if you want Germany, for example, take the coalition of the CDU, Christian Democratic Union, and the FDP, Freie Demokratische Liberale, Free Democratic Liberals. They built a coalition. Do you have these kinds of coalition in America? No, none at all, in fact. And if so, you have very, very little coalitions. That the Electoral College promotes building of coalitions is utter nonsense. I cannot even fathom how you can even claim that. Then she goes on to say that to win an election, a candidate has to have many voters, electoral voters, from different parts of the country. You cannot win 270 electoral votes if only one part of the country is supporting you. Well, wait a second, this is total nonsense and total bullshit. In fact, the Electoral College encourages exactly that. That is exactly why candidates in fact go for either the main states or the swing states. The swing states, which are unstable, and of course the main states, which basically have the most electoral voters. Because not all states in America have the same electoral voters. In fact, there are some states, like Wyoming, for example, that only have 2, 3, or 5 electoral voters, or electoral voters. As of such, these states are basically useless. So even if you gather a huge majority in all of America, in these huge amounts of states, you still end up with not having the majority. Despite that you actually won the majority support by states. So how you can claim that this prevents certain states from having more power or more influence than others is totally beyond me. Because this system promotes exactly that. It promotes exactly that. It promotes exactly that some states have more power, more sovereignty, and more autonomy than others. Then she goes on to say that if you had a pure popular-based vote, then candidates would go on to focus on the biggest states and the biggest cities with the largest populations. Well, actually, this is in fact exactly once again happening in the Electoral College system. Candidates are known to focus exactly on the states that have the most electoral voters, because they are simply hold the most electoral power. So again, what she says and what Prager University claims is once again utter nonsense. Also, in a real democracy, candidates cannot afford to go for certain cities or certain certain areas, because they simply need the majority nationwide. They need a nationwide majority. And hence they cannot afford to lose any voters at all. And hence they also focus their agendas nationwide instead of focusing on states, what exactly, once again, the Electoral College promotes. It promotes candidates and politicians to in fact focus on certain states more than other areas because these certain states simply hold the most electorals. So basically politicians end up focusing on these states instead of focusing on nationwide problems. Again, this entire logic, which by the way doesn't exist, is utter bullshit and utter nonsense. Then she goes on to say that the Electoral College makes it harder for candidates to steal elections or steal votes. Well, wait a second. Not only is this utter nonsense once again, but also again, wait a second. Why do you even have a system that allows you to steal votes in the first place? I mean, this is outright fraud. This is outright goddamn fraud. Why do you even have a system that allows this? Shouldn't one rethink the entire system if the entire system allows vote fraud in the first place? Shouldn't the entire system be revamped and changed if something like vote fraud like that is possible? Think about it. And then she goes on to say how important every single vote is, which in the end is once again no different from a true democracy which bases on nationwide popular vote. Once again, candidates cannot afford to lose any voter. Any voter they lose can tip the balance and can in fact lead to their demise and the fact that they lose. Once again, this is no different from actual democracy. In actual democracy, you have the same. But then again, you don't have a system that encourages you to steal votes. Instead, you have a system that encourages you to focus on nationwide agendas which benefit all people equally. And those that benefit the people the most, or the people themselves see as the most beneficial, those parties get elected. They go into parliament and they hold power. Once again, decided by the majority, decided by the people themselves, and not by a goddamn gremium like the Electoral College that decides over your heads, that decides for you, which is once again an autocracy and hence nothing else than an outright dictatorship. Pretty much this is all the video had to say, and pretty much as we can see it's all bullshit. And also, good morning America and welcome to reality. You are living in a dictatorship. You're living in an autocracy. You do not have democracy. I say, rebel, revolt against that. Rise up and take the power. Rise up for democracy and rise up for your own rights and your own freedom. And rise up to take the power from the Electoral College and the gremium and give the power to the people and yourselves too. Because in the end, not the Electoral College is America, you are America. The people are America. You are the nation and not the Electoral College. If you like that video, please subscribe, thumb up. If you have anything to say, feel free to comment. And red salutes and have fun.